Alright, welcome back to our channel. I'm Evan, in case you don't know.
And I'm Katie.
And today we are doing a video talking about expecting perfection in relationships. And why that's not good.
Or more, why do we do that and what should we do as an alternative? Yeah. So I would really like to point out my Valentine's Day festivity outfit. So I have red heart earrings and a heart necklace that you gave me.
I did give it to her.
Yes, and then my red dress because Valentine's Day is in like 3 days. So it would only be fitting that we talk about relationships. But that doesn't mean you have to be in one. No discrimination at all.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, let's just get started. So, I would say like 9 months ago, Evan made a comment saying how it's not fair for him to make an assumption about something I do or don't do or something I say or don't say, because that would be expecting perfection from me. So that led to a really good conversation, and we actually got to share it with some of our peers. Basically, this can be in friendships also, in any friendship or any relationship.
Yeah. Not just couples.
Right, definitely. Any interaction, basically, between people.
Yeah.
Maybe animals.
I don't think it works that way.
I don't know why I said that. Anyway, we will, as humans, begin to expect perfection from each other. And I feel like, me personally, I hold myself to standards of perfection. And in reality, that's just, it's unattainable. It's impossible to be perfect. We're human. But because we have those standards for ourselves, like people like me, then I feel like I hold others to those standards too. And I'm like, what? You're not meeting it. Well, that is because it's perfection.
Yeah. Another thing we've talked about definitely is we've talked about on this channel even is communication and why that's so big. And it's if I don't know the standards that she's holding me to, there's no possible way for me to live up to those, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's unfair or whatever for her to get mad at me for that, because I don't even know what I'm trying to achieve, so to speak, if that makes sense. So it's if you're in a friendship or a relationship or with your parents or with anyone really, just communicating this is the standard I have, or even just hey, could you do this, and expressing what this is in detail of what you expect for them. Mm-hmm. Then that can really go a long way.
Or more what is your mindset when they do certain actions, I think is what you're trying to say. For me, example, as I've said before, I am a little sensitive sometimes. So, I get upset if Evan doesn't bring me flowers every single morning of the year. And I have to realize that, you know what, that's just a lot of money. And that's expecting perfection from him. I mean, that's an extreme example, obviously. But if I expect him to do something and he doesn't do it, then I could get upset. And so then that could turn into an argument, a disagreement, a fight, and then you'll get angry at each other. When really what we're trying to say in this whole video is that expecting perfection from anyone is just not how we should be living. And it's going to be a daily pick up your cross thing. Because sometimes, you're just going to be upset that somebody doesn't do the right thing or say the thing you wanted them to say. And we have to realize that's okay. Sometimes I find myself painting this picture in my head of, what I feel like Evan should be based on stuff I see in movies or stuff that you see on social media or stuff that you read in books, magazines. The list goes on and on and on. And in our society today, we have so much access to so many things, and this is what leads to so much insecurity in our world. And it can lead to this also. I'm expecting Evan to be like the guy that I see in the movie treating his girlfriend. Well, that is something that is scripted, and it's an actor.
And
it's
well
not
thought out.
Yeah. But I have to realize that I like Evan because of who he is, and if I've stuck with him this long, then I must like something about him. And in the end, our relationship is about feeding each other more with how we grow in our relationship with the Lord. And I see how he does that, and then that will inspire me to grow, and then I can inspire him. That's what our relationship is for. It's not to bring me flowers every morning, to make me feel good, you know?
I think that's a good analogy of like we should feed each other, just like in positivity, not necessarily in like, because a lot of relationships go kind of haywire because like one person gets mad and then the other person's mad because they're mad, and then it just kind of they feed off each other, but in a negative way. But I think the true like way we should live in a relationship is to feed off each other positively. Like I would compliment her, and then she, you know, would feel good and do something for me, and like those things, like even those little things like that, you know, like are not perfect. Like I'm never gonna say like the perfect words to you, you know, but so like not to expect perfection out of that person to like always compliment you, or like what you're saying, always bring me flowers or whatever. But just by being positive to one person, you can like really feed each other that positivity and start to experience like what God has laid out for you. So,
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about us being imperfect is we all have our own special story that God has made for us. And that is so awesome, because each story within yourself, within your friends, within your relationships, with your families, anything is so beautifully crafted. And so the point of all this is that we need to remember that God made us perfectly in his image, but we are not perfect. So the way he made us perfectly, but he didn't make us to be perfect people. So we have a scripture that goes with that, which is
Romans 3:23, that says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God."
So there you have it.
Nobody's perfect, like the Hannah Montana song. Nobody's perfect. Okay, that's about all I remember. But anyway, yeah. So like nobody's perfect, and nobody will honestly live up to like the perfection that is God. But we, like she was saying, we are created in God's image, which is perfect. But that doesn't mean that we are perfect as people, because like obviously we all mess up. Yeah.
So some ways that I personally find myself holding myself up to perfection is if I am trying to study for a class, or if I want to do something for other people, then I want it to be, you want to have like that, the best grade in the class. You want to have the best grade on the test or the homework or whatever you do. And I know a lot of people, we were in music, will find themselves wanting to be, you know, the top player. And the thing is, in our world, there are so many just, it's like a caste system, if you will, with like you have a rank in high school, and you have a certain grade point average, and if you're in like band or orchestra, you have chairs that you are ranked based on how good you are, how close to perfect you are. And that can really, really twist our mind and make us think that, wow, we're not perfect. But you're still going to hold yourself to that standard of perfection.
We should be perfect.
But you're never going to reach it.
Yeah.
So it really, expecting perfection from relationships we get to that because we expect perfection from ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some things that we want to talk about where we want you all to realize, as we have been working on it too for the past years, where you can start with yourself. And one of those, well, the first one was Romans 3:23. Remember that we will fall short of the glory of God, but He made us perfectly in His image. So remember that, but remember that we are not a perfect people. Secondly, our unrighteousness is a chance for God to bring out His righteousness, which is so beautiful. So the verse we have for that one is 2 Corinthians 12:9.
Yes. So that one says, "But He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness."
Yeah, I think that is so powerful because it shows that we can't do anything on our own. We obviously can't do anything perfect on our own. But in our weakness, that's where God, His strength can be so clearly seen in our lives. And that's so awesome.
Mm-hmm. I think another thing to take away from that is not only that His power is shown through our weakness, but also the first part that says, my grace is sufficient for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I guess to anyone struggling with self-confidence or just trying to live up to unattainable expectations of, like, image or anything of the world, you know, that the world says this is the standard and nobody's going to live up to it, or you have to meet this standard but nobody will. Mm-hmm. You know, like this is really something to take hold of, is 2 Corinthians 12:9 that just says, my grace is sufficient for you. So, like, God's grace is enough for us. And when we're not enough, or when we feel like we're not enough, we can always remember that, you know what, like, we might be weak, but God is strong in this circumstance.
Constantly strong. And grace is something we don't deserve, but it's God's free gift that He gives to us no matter what. So that is super awesome.
Yeah.
So this last point kind of brings out a thing that when we were looking back over this a minute ago, I was like, oh, that's good. Like, we were thinking good, weren't we? But it says, I don't want to get this wrong. Therefore, since we already sin, we might as well see our imperfection as an opportunity for God's perfection. So through our flaws and our imperfection, why don't we look for God's perfection through it all? Mm-hmm. How He's working in our lives. So yeah. Wasn't like a lovey-dovey Valentine's Day video, but it's something we think is really important and we continually work on in our relationship. Yeah. And work on it with your relationships with your parents, your siblings, your friends, anybody, and yourself. That's the main thing here. It starts with you and your relationship with God. And that is something that will be constantly growing. It will never stop being at its full potential. So yeah. Remember to give everybody a little extra love today. And thanks for watching. What are you doing?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Alright, thank you for watching this video. We will come back with another one soon. Like next week or something. But yeah, that's it for today, folks.
Alright. Have a super great Sunday.